are more familiar, and these are something that we practice in our day-to-day life. So I now directly moving towards the process of communication, which actually we are being studied from our childhood. That there is a sender, there is an encoding of the message, then what we are sending, that's a message. After that, we pick a mode from which we send our message. Then a person is there to whom we are sending, known as a receiver. Receiver decode, and finally, receiver may give your feedback, and there is always the possibility of the noise at any point of level of the state. Right? So the person who actually begins the communication, selecting that what is to be communicated, the content, the tone, the language, is known as the sender. After that, as I said, that sender used to actually encode the message. It means, as a sender, for example, if I have to send any file to you, to the discussion, right? For example, when I'm teaching you this course, if I'm not clear in my ideas, if I'm not simple, it is very, very difficult for you to understand. So your message should always be clear and concise. Channel is the medium that we use to deliver the message. At times we face-to-face communicate, at times we do through the phone call, at times our body language speaks, at times we communicate by the email. So whatever be the channel, again, our priority is the message should reach to the receiver end properly. Receiver is the person who actually for whom the message is communicated. So receiver generally receive the message on the basis of their knowledge, their situation, their experience, and then we talk about decoding. So that's a very important stage. Whatever I'm communicating to you, whatever I'm explaining to you, if you're not understanding in that way, there is no point of that communication. So decoding means how well the receiver may understand the clarity of the message in the same way that the sender has said. That's very important. So this is a stage where the receiver will interpret the message or where the receiver derive the meaning out of that entire communication. Feedback is actually the receiver response towards the message and which complete this loop. So without the feedback, you cannot say the communication process can be complete. So it is very important to the sender to understand whether the message was understood in the same way that is happening through the feedback. Now there is a yellow, you can say column, or I can say there's a yellow box you are able to see that shows that noise. If I define this communication from the organizational point of view, what do you mean by noise? Noise means any interference which disrupt your communication process. Now it can be anything. For example, when you are writing an email to your boss, maybe the situation is very urgent, but you find your friends are gossiping nearby that. So because of that, somehow you got distracted. So that is a noise, any background noise, any stress going on in your mind, let's say, right? Any unclear notion, anything can be a noise. So that's why we generally say that whenever we are communicated, please think twice before you speak. Because once anything goes out of you, it's gone. Whether verbal, whether non-verbal, excuse me, or whether it is written. So it is generally said that whenever we communicate anything, think twice before you speak. That's why it is important, right? So that's how our communication process is complete when we talk about all these different stages, right? I'll take these, then we'll go back to the... queries, because this is a very simple topic, guys, learners. I really don't expect that any of you may have more number of doubts here, because that's not anything related to theory part and not complexity. Now let us talk about the various types of communication, right? So basically, if we talk about the different type of communication, we have 4 categories. First, we talk about any communication which use your words to convey the message, right? And this is known as a verbal communication. That's generally what we do in our organizations or in our everyday life also. It happens over the phone. It happens even in the meetings, virtual meetings, face-to-face. So if I'm speaking during a meeting, if I'm giving you lecture in a class, right? If you are talking to your colleague about your project, that's all the very simple example of a verbal communication. The person is in front of you, maybe that may be the situation, or virtually if you are connected over the Zoom, over the Teams call, you are communicating to that person what you're supposed to do on a project. Everything is under the verbal communication, right? Next, we talk about non-verbal. It's not essential that communication always take the help of some words. It can also be done when you express by your body language. Let's say at times it may happen that during the meeting, you stand quiet or you are just putting your head down. So that means either you are not interested or you are under the stress. So there are lots of posture, there are lots of body languages which communicates a lot about you, even you don't speak a word. So that's what a non-verbal communication is actually, right? At times it may happen your boss is saying something, so you don't say yes or no, you just nod your head. That means you are agree to that. At times it may happen that when you're very happy with the communication of your boss, you actually wear a smile on your face. That shows that it is accepting to you. It's like that, crossing arms, it means you are defensive. So when giving the presentation, if you are using your hands, it shows that you are really very confident. You understand that content better. That is also a form of non-verbal communication, right? Then we have the very formal communication which is happening through the written words, right? And generally these type of communication are required for the documentation part. So if you're sending an email to your client, you're actually submitting a report, you are posting a message here in the organizational behavior class, right? That's why I usually say that don't post any message related to your personal groups. You are actually creating some circulars, for your office information, all are written communication. Generally, notices and circulars are being kept in some registers or documents. So for the future, in the audit part, organization can use that. And last, we have a visuals, and that's very, very actually important because visuals is something that's seen to your eye by images, pictures. Generally, it is say that when you are presenting your work, if you use more visuals, the people will understand it better and it retain the memory for the long period of time. So if you use some image, some chart, let's say I give you some project that you have to compare the sales of your company with the competitor from the last 2 years. So if you tell me at the point, at times I forgot. But if you give me some chart that, boss, this is a summary of the sales of my competitor, this is a summary of the sales of my company from the last 2 years. So the graph shows that we are continuously increasing and they are not. Maybe these are the reasons. So that certainly hit my mind. And that's certainly easy for me to understand. So showing or we can say watching the images, chart, diagram, even videos are also very popular nowadays. Right? These visual aids always allowed to convey your information more clearly. Infographics, flow chart, you can say, let's say some video tutorials. So that's why generally say in the LMS, from the PDF, we prepare the live session content. We ask you that you should go through the videos also for the additional knowledge. So this video tutorial is also a kind of visual communication, right? But yes, we can say that all over, basically every type of communication has its own place in the different type of circumstance. I cannot say that this could be more important, this could be less. It depends on the priority, it depends on the situation, the which communication you should basically have, right? Okay, learners. So after 2 topics, I would like to understand from you that any doubts you are having here. And before that, just wanted to confirm that I'm really, you are able to hear me properly and I'm visible to all. Absolutely, Vikas, you're right. Non-verbal communication is something related to your gestures, your postures, right? So I just giving an answer to Prasanta about non-verbal communication. If somebody also has that doubt, please be attentive. So non-verbal communication, where we use your body language, facial expression, your gestures, your postures to actually communicate something. Nodding your head, smiling, then keeping your fingers continuously move, crossing your arms, any hand movements you are doing while you are presenting, all are the examples of the non-verbal communication. Thank you so much, Shreyash, for your kind words. It's really motivated me a lot, right? Rohit, you need to log in once again because I'm sorry. I don't think so that there's any problem with the voice. Is everybody able to hear? Okay, learners. I hope I'm audible to everyone now. Oral communication is, you can say, that is most of something that you use your spoken words to communicate. So it can be, you can say, in the form of a verbal one, where you're not writing anything, but you are communicating with that person directly by your spoken words. That is an oral communication. Anything else? Okay. Any other questions anybody is having regarding the communication aspect? Just brief, we have done. Please don't get confused between all these categories. Verbal, we just now discussed. It is more about, you can say, spoken words. What you speak is verbal, right? So absolutely, if you talk about written, we're talking about something that you are writing. So everything has its a slightly different meaning. So try to understand in that way. I've given the example also. If you're writing an email to your client, that is a written communication, right? If you're talking to your colleague to discuss about the project, that is a verbal communication. Please don't get confused. Encoding and decoding, actually it is related to the conversion of a message. So when I'm sending any message, when I'm communicating to you, I should use those terminologies which is simple for you to understand, right? And if I talk about, again, decoding, right? So it means that, let's say as a receiver, when I'm communicating to you, it's not essential you are understanding in that way.
Encoding.
Now, just now there are lots of questions regarding the verbal or the oral. So I have not used that. But there are lots of things going on in your mind. Maybe according to that, you have understand and trace that thing. It's like that, right? So encoding or decoding, it is related to how you understand that message. One is from the receiver side, one is from the sender side. That's the only difference. Non-verbal, I have already explained, but please, I request you to don't ask the repetitive questions. Non-verbal is related to your body language. When your facial expression communicate anything, your gesture, your posture, it's like that. Something which is not using your words. It is more about the body language part. That is a non-verbal. Thank you so much, Rahul. Absolutely, Swastik, we can say that. Jaideep, don't worry, I'll tell you. So this point, you will get your answer in the stress management. I hope now everybody is clear. Yes, written communication can be done by that. Absolutely. Anything which you do for the documentation part. Tripti, you want the example for the visual communication? It can be anything. Like I'm showing you a bar chart, I'm giving you some flow chart, I'm showing you a YouTube video to explain my concept better. It is a visual communication. Great. Thank you so much, learners. Now I'm going to continue with the next topic. So I just request one of you, anybody can give the answer to the Bhumi that she is confused regarding the visual communication. So please, anybody can post the answer because I've just now explained it. Now next I'm moving towards the barriers to the communication. So these are the challenges actually. Right? Or the obstacles, let's say. So what do you mean by obstacles? That make your communication a little bit difficult. Now first is a physical barrier. Physical barriers, you can say these are the challenges which is there in the environment and that prevent the communication to be effective. Now for example, if you're working in a factory, your manager has given some instructions, let's say, but the sound of machine is really very high. So at times it may happen because of that sound, you're not able to hear the instructions properly. So there are some challenges, there are some barriers, obstacles in the environment which make it difficult for you to understand what are the instructions. So this noise can be the physical barrier, let's say, right? At times now we are actually knowing this remote working concept where the people are working from the home. But many companies face this challenge where the managers, in case of remote environment, they struggle to communicate properly with their staff, or at times the employees may not be honest enough to respond. So that distance can be a physical barrier, right? At times you are connecting to your call for your client and then immediately connection lost. So that happens with me also. So you are not able to hear me properly. So that network glitch, that can be a physical barrier, let's say, right? Next obstacle is related to your emotional factor, psychological. So that arise from your emotion, that arise from your mind, and that impact how you understand the message and how you send the message actually, right? So at times it may happen that your boss is again telling you that please work on your competency, please work on your skill, please work on your punctuation, you can say punctuality, then only you can grow. But you are going through a lot of stress in your mind, maybe your personal problem, maybe something related to your family. You're not able to understand that message in a positive way, let's say. So that mental setup, that actually emotional setup does not allow you to understand that message clearly. You presume that your message is, your boss is always telling you negative things. But he or she is not telling you negative thing, boss. He or she is telling you the path to grow in the future. It's like that. But your mental state, your, you can say, emotions, your feeling doesn't allow you to understand that. That is a psychological thing, right? At times it may. Next, we talk about semantic barrier. What do you mean by semantic barriers? Semantic barriers means that where you don't understand the words the way it is supposed, it's like that. But your mental state, your, you can say, emotions, your feeling doesn't allow you to understand that. That is a psychological thing, right? At times it may happen you don't like any person. Now, if that person is there in any public speaking forum, you always say, that person doesn't speak good. Because you have the perception about that person like that. It's like that. So something that's related to your mind, something that related to your emotions, feeling, it's always come up under the psychological barriers. Next, we talk about semantic barrier. What do you mean by semantic barriers? Semantic barriers means that where you don't understand the words the way it is supposed to be. Any language, any symbol. At times it may happen that when your boss may use some technical words in a meeting, you don't understand that. That's a semantic barrier. Because of the misunderstanding of that word, you don't understand the entire context, you can say. At times it may happen that somebody from the regional person, they start speaking in their own language. You don't understand that because they are speaking in a regional language. That's semantic barrier. So anything which occurs because of misunderstanding of language, symbol, words, it's like that. Now, next we talk about any barrier, any obstacle that exists in the culture. What do you mean by cultural barriers? Now, every culture has a different belief, custom, social norms, and that actually impact for language, symbol, words, it's like that. Now, next we talk about any barrier, any obstacle that exists in the culture. What do you mean by cultural barriers? Now, every culture has a different belief, custom, social norms, and that actually impact for you to communicate and to understand. How? Again, as I said, that a team member may speak a language which nobody can understand. That's a cultural barrier. You in one culture, generally it happens in the, you can say, outside India. In abroad, generally we can say there a simple greeting by joining your hands maybe have a different meaning. But if you talk about India, here we have greeting a person. It's like that. So cultural barrier, any barrier that may arise because of the change in the culture, change in the custom, change in the belief also, I can say that. So because of that, if you don't understand anything clearly, that's a cultural barrier. And at last, anything obstacles that related to the policies, structure, or the hierarchy of the organization, it is related to the organizational barrier, let's say. So for example, some organizations may have lots of reporting level. If you have a problem, you have to communicate to your immediate boss. Then this problem goes to the super boss. Then that problem goes to the team leader. Then that problem goes to the manager. So that till the time your problem may actually reach to the final ultimate authority, you forgot about that problem. It's like that. So at times the organization may have lots of hierarchy, protocol. Their structure is that much rigid that does not allow you to communicate properly. At times your boss has not given you the clarity that what is expectation from you. So at the end of performance appraisal, at the time of performance appraisal, they say that you have not done this, you have not done this. But have they communicated this to us? So that's an organizational barrier. That's related to the policy, structure, or hierarchy. Right? At times it may happen, organizations say that you are not supposed to talk to the person from any other department. So restrictive policies may doesn't allow you to openly communicate, right? So there can be lots of obstacles there that does not allow you to communicate in an open way, in an effective way, I can say. You should try to avoid these if you want to be a good and effective communicator. That's it. Yes, people. I know you may get a bit confusion regarding the semantic and cultural barrier. But one thing here I want to tell you that in the case of semantic, it is more, you can say, related to misunderstanding. You have not understand any word. Misunderstanding of any word or language or symbol. Let's say I've given you the example. But in the case of cultural, language is one part. There can be other part like custom, like value, like belief. These can be other part also. So please don't get confused. When I'm talking about semantic, it is misunderstanding of any language, word, or the symbol. So technical terms, jargons, or somebody saying soon, but they have not specified anything. So it creates a confusion. What do you mean by soon? So soon means 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, what exactly you mean to say? Somebody used to write in the email, even I also did this mistake, that I am going to share this document with you shortly. No, what do you mean by shortly? So I agree, I use these words very frequently and I am wrong now. Because when I'm teaching you now, understand that I should not use this word. Because at times people who is actually receiving this email of mine, they don't understand what you mean by shortly. So I have to specify whether within the next 1 week, 15 days or what actually, right? Or even 5 days also. So any confusion that may happen because of misunderstanding of words, language or symbol, it comes under semantic. But in the case of cultural, because as a culture from the one place to another place differ, so because of the change in the value, belief, custom or norms also, if any communication may not understand properly, that is a cultural barrier. I hope, Radia, you get the answer what you have asked for. No, Sonam, semantic is not more with the tone, as I just said. It is more with the related to misunderstanding of any word or symbol or the language. Shreyash, in that case, we have a very different type of strategy for the spatially abled people. Somebody who cannot speak, you need to speak them in a sign language. They have their own language to communicate. And to be very honest, I'm from my experience can say that these people are really very good at the communication. God has blessed them with this skill actually. Organizational barrier is related to anything which is there in the structure, hierarchy or the policy that prevent a proper communication. Just now I've given you one example. Many organizations does not allow you to communicate with the people of the other department. So this restrictive policies does not give the chance for the open communication. So that's a problem with the policy. That sometimes more level of hierarchy does not allow you to communicate properly with whom you want to talk. At times the problem may take long period of time to get approval as well. It's like that. Second is psychological barrier. So any obstacle there in your mind or something related to your emotion that does not allow you to understand the information properly or send the communication, it is related to psychological. Can be the stress, can be the biasness. At times you are very shy. You don't feel confident enough to share your idea in the meeting. That is also psychological barrier because it is related to your emotions. Absolutely. Semantic is related to any miscommunication happen because you have not understand the symbol, word or the language properly. I've given you the example of the soon that comes under semantic barrier. Physical is related to which is there in the organizational setting or which is there in the organizational environment that does not allow you to understand the information properly. As I said, some loud sound of machinery does not allow you to hear the instruction, right? Then network glitch over the conference call does not allow you to listen properly. It's like that. Yes, somehow, Dharmendra, we can say geographical barrier is nothing but it's a distance barrier. And that you can talk about in the physical only. That you can comprise in that. Semantic barriers in any organizational setting, I've given you the examples, like for example, some technical terminology if your boss is using in a meeting, some ambiguous words you can say, right? Somebody saying it is budget friendly, so it means different things to different people. I already taught you perception. From there you can relate semantic barriers more better, right? So I hope now you should not have more doubts because all of the topics all of the points I've again repeated once again. So now I request you that if your friends are asking it, please respond and try to have more peer-to-peer learning. I think that will be better for you. So now I'm going to continue with the topic that's related to the stress now. Now next we are moving to the concept that's related to the stress. And as I told you, that this is also something that we are facing in our day-to-day life. Not exactly when we are working, but even